two of the pieces I ended up writing directly address these issues about time. And I think that this is something that was more acute in my own perception more recently rather than at the beginning. But what I mean is that it is hard to tell sometimes how much time has passed. The pandemic and the sense of isolation and confinement has distorted our sense of time. I heard somebody put this as temporal dysphoria, right? Which is just a distorted sense of how time has passed. And people in very other particular circumstances have suffered from this, whether it's from PTSD or some other traumatic event where we cannot reconstruct the sequence of events that led up to where we are now. That's an example would be getting to the end of the day and not remembering what you did that morning. Another example that's maybe more of a generally felt thing with at least a lot of the people I've spoken with is that, it still feels like a year ago when I hear somebody say last year, I think of like 2019. The last year and a half has felt sort of like a month, but also like 5 years at the same time. I mean, so there's all of these contradictions and ways in which our sense of time has become distorted. And that's one thing that I had been thinking more and more about between June 2020 and now. And two of the pieces in the collection of 6 are musically they address different ways of dealing with time, which of course is a musical concern in the first place. One of my first pieces that I wrote was just this idea that we're trapped inside and we're kind of anxious and restless. And one way of dealing with that for me is to let my imagination go and to find escape, through other means, whether it's reading or writing music or playing the piano, or just imagining some kind of inner life or inner game that can keep you occupied. And so that this sense of an inner life that keeps you sustained and keeps you excited about something in the future, that was a motivation for 2 of the pieces, one of the original ones, and then one more that I wrote more recently. And so to answer your question kind of in a shorter ways, like some of it had to do with things from the beginning and some of it changed.